Hey crafters, it is December, it is crafty season, gifty season, cozy scarf season, and all sorts of good things. I've got to say though, as the weather has gotten colder, I have been rethinking my holiday wardrobe goals. I have not gotten out of my loungewear rut from the pandemic. I'm still working the comfy. I've worn a lot of my sweatshirts, a lot of tie-dye, a lot of comfy stuff. I mean, it's all about comfy and it's all about warm and the combination thereof. So I think what I'm going to be doing for my holiday wear this year, I want to use some of those things. I want it to be comfy, I want it to be warm if possible, and hey, if it's cute, win-win, added bonus. So today's loungewear project is, well, at least two of those things. I think it's going to be really comfy and it's definitely going to be cute. It might not be as warm, but let me tell you about this project. I'm going to be making a vintage caftan. So think like drapey, house dress kind of look, but the pattern I'm using is actually from the 1920s. So this pattern is flapper approved. Flappers, I guess, were just cute all the time because even when they were home, they were wearing these cute loungewear garments and it made me want to try one. I actually made this project first during the pandemic and I ended up wearing it all the time. Not just for costumes, but just because it was super comfy. So I'm gonna make another one, but this time around it's gonna be a little more holiday themed. It's gonna have some crazy bright fabric. I wanna add some kind of holiday retro vintage accessories and go all like flapper glam while hanging out at home. I think that's what the flappers would have done. They would have looked fabulous even from home. So I'm gonna do that too. Let me show you the pattern we're working with. I'll show you the fabric and we'll dive in. Let's get all holidayified, holiday ready. There you go, holiday ready. Well, here's the pattern we're going to be working with. I found this one on a blog, of course, which I will link in the description. I believe I found it on Midvale Cottage blog, but I will put that down in the description so you can print off a copy for yourself as well. But hey, look at this design. It's a folded over piece of fabric with a hole cut out for the neck, two side seams, and arms come out here, and then edges are left flowy. You can add a belt. Oh, this is really great. I love how the model is wearing it. She has the sash at kind of a drop waist level, and then the skirt is more of like midi length, which totally works for 20s. That's really fun. Of course, you add your beads and your bangles and your fuzzy slippers. That's so cute. If we raised the belt and made this more of a maxi length, then it would look much more 1970s because, hippies love this style too, right? So, hey, kind of a timeless pattern idea. Now, I'm going to run into a few snags. They're telling me to use 36-inch wide material, and my fabric is actually quite a bit wider than that. It's about 60 inches wide, and I could cut the sides in to make it narrower, but I'm wondering maybe I'll leave it wider because see how the 36 is giving kind of a short sleeve effect on the model. I think if I use the full length that I have, it'll make it much more wider on the sides, but I think it'll also make the fabric extend down over the arms a little bit more to make maybe like a longer, maybe 3/4 length sleeve effect. I don't know. Let me show you my fabric and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Well, here's my fabric. Yeah, it's a little wild and crazy. Wow. I ended up getting this fabric as a remnant, and so it's pretty inexpensive, and it made me think, hey, wild and crazy, who would shamelessly wear a pattern this bright and flamboyant? And definitely flappers came to mind. So we're gonna try it. As I said before, it's too wide. It's about 60 inches wide. And unfortunately, the selvages have printing on them. So even if I keep the width the way it is, I'm gonna have to fold under and hem the edges to get rid of the printing. So, that'll take away like maybe a couple inches from the width, and that might be okay. Okay, so that'd be all right. It's super satiny, super drapey, which I think will also fit very nicely for a very sassy flapper wearing her loungewear because she can't go to a party because there's COVID. Um, yeah, if that flapper existed, I think she'd love this fabric. It has lots of attitude. Am I gonna hate myself because it's so slippery and shiny that it's gonna be a pain to work with? Yeah, probably. But hey, it was a remnant. Of course, that means we have to try it, right? Oh, gosh. Well, we're going to dive in, you guys. I think my first step is going to be to hem the sides and just get that done. And then once I stitch those down, I'll lay this out on my cutting board and we'll kind of get the neck line in there and a few other side seams, and it'll start to make a little more sense. Okay, progress report. So I have hemmed the edges, but you can tell I've got all of the edges folded together at one side here. Let's see what's really going on. Get a bigger picture view. Whoa, I better stand up. There's so much fabric, hard to see. Okay, you guys, you might be able to tell over here to that left-hand corner, I started cutting out a neck hole. That means that, yeah, you're right. Our fabric's actually folded in quarters right now. Okay, so along the top, fabric's folded in half. That's going to be our shoulder area. And then, of course, this fold down here is going to be the center of the garment. If we opened the fabric up to the other side, this would be twice as wide with, of course, your neck hole there in the center. Is this a lot of fabric? Oh, gosh. Yeah, it sure is. But hey, I have it folded into quarters for a reason. I wanted to cut the neck hole, and folding it in quarters helps us get that neck hole in the center. This is probably about as big as I want the back of the hole to be, but you can tell I've also started to mark off. I think I want the front of the neck to be a little lower, and that'll be there. I also need to, while it's folded in half, I'm kind of attempting, let's see, hard to see, but I've done some attempting. I'm trying to mark off where I want the side seams of this garment to be. So, according to the picture, we should have some side seams going on this side of the garment and on the other side. So, around your body, you're going to have two seams going down, and then the rest of the fabric is kind of flowing free. You have your armhole closer to the top, and then the rest of this is fluttering down. Of course, I'm using way more fabric than they said, so it's going to be a little extra wide. Let's open this up, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hopefully it'll be a little easier to see. Okay, here it is all opened up. You can see the neckline, that little dent in the center, and then of course we've got the hemmed edges going all the way down to the bottom. Let's see if we can get the whole thing in one shot. Well, almost. This is a lot of fabric, but we got the sides hemmed. We got the neck hole. I got to enlarge that a little bit in the front. Now, my next step is to add 2 lines of stitching, kind of going under the arms and down, under the arms and down on both sides of the garment, because your body's going to fit like right in the middle, and then the rest of the fabric is just going to be extra fluttery going over the shoulders and such. Let's see if I can kind of show you some of these pins. Okay, so there's my neckline. Can you see little dots of pins going down on that side and going down on that side? Okay, so I'm going to need to stitch where those pins are to make the side seams of the garment. Let me see if I can get the picture here to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, back looking at our pattern. So my fabric looks different than this because remember, mine is super wide. They're using 36 inches of fabric. Mine is about, well, let's see, it was about 60, but I hemmed the sides. these sides, so I took in probably about 4 inches total. So it's, gosh, you know what? Yeah, at least 55 inches. So mine is going to look really wide compared to theirs. So mine would look more like this. But I've started to get the neck hole in there. Next, I need to sew these seams, which are going to be the side seams, and leaving a gap at the top for my arms. Let's kind of compare what our giant piece of fabric looks like to that. Whoa! Seeing some similarities? A little bit? Kinda? Okay, well, if I was using narrower fabric, like the directions call for, they're going to tell you how to find where these side seams go. I think they're saying about 6 inches in from the side, then you're going to sew this vertical seam on this side and this one on this side as well. Now, I have way more fabric than they're dealing with, so I can't just go in 6 inches from the side. Instead, I hopefully did some math correctly, figured out about how much this space in the middle is, this basically your body part. How big is that? Seemed to be about 24 inches big. So I found the center of my garment when it was folded in quarters, and I measured kind of about, well, let's see, 12 inches on that side to find my side seam. From the center, 12 inches to the other side. And there are my pins showing you where I'm gonna stitch to get those side seams. Now, yeah, it's gonna be kind of long. I'm not sure of the hem length I'm gonna want. It's gonna be a little crazy to stitch this down, but I think I'm gonna get it over to the machine and take a look at it. All right, you guys, well, you can tell I'm kind of figuring out where my side seams are going to be. I think this one's going to be right about here. You can see with the pins. I'm realizing, though, instead of just stitching this seam, I think I want to reinforce this a little bit because this fabric is super satiny and it's really heavy. I'm afraid it could pull and tear a little bit. So I'm going to get a little bit of this hem tape. I think I'm going to sandwich it in between the layers of fabric. I'm gonna, kind of open this up, sneak a little bit of that tape underneath, and kind of pin it in place, and then I'll stitch right on top of that. I'll kind of have a fabric sandwich. Fabric in the front, tape in the middle, and then, of course, the back of the garment as well. Kind of sandwich that in there. Hopefully, make that a little bit stronger. I'm sure there are a lot of other ways to do that, but I think that's what I'm going to try to do right now. And then, hey, let's get some seams in, and then we'll finally have something kind of looks like a garment. Here we go. All right, well, I sewed in those side seams. It's kind of hard to see. We've got line going that way, line going that way. I sandwiched some of that hem tape in between the two pieces of fabric, and I did a little zigzag stitch to try to hold that there. My machine didn't really love the combination of the shiny fabric, but we're gonna roll with it. Next up, I gotta deal with that neckline. So I want to try this thing on. I want to see how this fits, if I like this kind of underarm area, which is going to be right here. I want to see if that's big enough or maybe needs to be smaller. I want to try on the neck hole, see if I want to make that any bigger. And then I'm probably going to finish that neck hole with, hey, my favorite, single fold bias tape in a dark color. That should be pretty good. And, we basically have a caftan at this point. Once we finish the neck, the next will be, I want to see where I want to put in little loops for a belt. And then gotta hem it. Oh, there's so much fabric. Oh, dear. That might take a little while. But, hey, let's start with the neck. Try this on. Get the neck line the way we want it. Maybe move on to those belt loops, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys, I'm getting the seam binding around the neck. I've got these cute little seam binding clips, and their job is to hold the single fold bias tape onto the outside of the garment. And then it's a little hard to see, but there's, of course, little creases. And I'm going to stitch in that first crease, or they say stitch in the ditch. And then, of course, once that's stitched down, and there's stitching right across there, we'll fold all of this over. Oops, sorry, try to make sure you can see this. And stitch again. So first step, I gotta stitch in the ditch on the outside of the garment, and then we'll fold the whole thing underneath and stitch again. Awesome. Okay, got the neckline in. I did, of course, try it on, and whoa, it's a lot. I'm kind of thinking maybe I shouldn't have left quite so much extra fabric for the sleeves and the sides, because it's really drapey. It's a little bit heavy, I gotta say, when you're wearing it. So if you're dealing with a lighter weight fabric, the wider width is probably going to be a little easier to work with. As it is, it's a little heavy. I think for a costume or, you know, something kind of loungy like this, it'll be fine. But if I was going to wear this like a dress, definitely using fabric closer to that 36-inch width, I think would have been easier to wear. But okay, my next step, you can see I've got some little safety pins pretty close to those side seams, one on each side. Got one over here, yeah, one on the other side here. Okay, well, when I tried on the dress, I measured a position on each side that was a little lower than my hips. And I think this is where I want to attach the kind of like holes for the sash. If I was making this more like a 70s look, I'd use more of like a waist level sash. But since this is 1920s, hey, we need that drop waist. Now, the directions from the vintage pattern are a little odd on how to open holes for this belt to go in. So I'm going to kind of circumvent those. And at this spot where I measured off where I want my belt to be, I think what I'm going to do is use the buttonhole foot on my sewing machine and just do like a little buttonhole here in the extra kind of floofy fabric to the side. Probably try to do it pretty close to the side seam. And then I'll use that hole for the ribbon I'm going to use. Let's see, I think I'm going to use kind of like shiny satiny ribbon for kind of a tie, kind of a belt. We'll see. I may need to put in a little bit of like iron-in interfacing on the inside before I do the buttonhole, just because of this fabric and it kind of shreds a little bit. So I think I'll do that. Getting the buttonholes on there. Ooh, wish me luck, but I'll try to get my machine to do the work for me. And after that, I mean, we're almost done. I've got to hem this. I think I'm going to try to have it be kind of a midi length. So buttonholes, hemming, and then maybe some accessories. If I have extra fabric, maybe I'll make a scarf. I don't know. We're getting close. Well, I'm putting together some flapper finery here. I've got my vintage beads. I think I'm going to use a little of this extra fabric that I cut off from the hem for, like, I don't know, some kind of a scarf. I've got my retro flower accessories, which you might recognize from the last video. I wear these all during holiday season, and these are a DIY project, so I will link to that tutorial. I do have some of this ribbon that I was going to use for a belt, but you know, I'm just not sure if I need it. This is so drapey and flowy by itself. I almost feel like a belt isn't necessary. I don't know. See what you guys think. I may add one later if I don't add one right now, but let's do some hair, let's do some makeup, and let's put this thing together. I feel very drapey, very dramatic, very flowy. Oh my gosh, you guys, if we were going for comfy loungewear with flapper style and flapper attitude, I feel like I got it because I feel pretty fabulous. I feel like I'm kind of sassy. I'm like in charge, and I'm also very comfy, like very comfy. I mean, there's a lot of fabric going on, as I knew there would be, but it's pretty fabulous. I gotta say, this has some flapper attitude going on. Hey, of course I used a little bit of the extra fabric to do like a head wrap, and then some vintage beads. I did make my pins and my hair clip. You might recognize them from my last video because these come out every holiday with every vintage outfit I do, and I love them. So I'll post that link to the blog post where I made these, because these were not hard to make either. If you want to make yourself some accessories to go with your outfit, I've got to say, I do love this project. This pattern is available online for free. I'll link to that. It's pretty straightforward with the sewing. It does always take me longer than I think it's going to. I think that's just because we're working with so much fabric that keeping everything lined up and straight and measured, especially if it's like shiny fabric like this, takes some time. But I don't know, I think it's a really fun project. It could be super fun to make as maybe a gift for a super vintagey friend. The pattern, the original pattern actually suggests making them for others and making them so they match your friend's like bedroom decor, so they'd have like matching loungewear. How cute is that, right? Well, I definitely want to make this pattern again. I definitely want to wear this again. I might even just wear this for putting up some Christmas decorations today. I also need to make a real cup of tea here and work on some more crafty projects, because I definitely have some more up my sleeve. I hope you enjoyed this. This this was fun for me. I feel very flapperish in this. So fun project. Hope it inspires you to maybe try some holiday loungewear of your own. And just stay crafty, stay inspired. This year's a little weird. We gotta stay inspired. So I'm gonna go take care of this and work on some more projects. If you guys found this video amusing, hey, punch that like button to let me know, and subscribe because we have lots more holiday wear and holiday gifts coming to you soon. So stay crafty, everyone, and we will see you soon. Cheers.